2 people. Then you can go. You have to be equal distance from both of you. From 2 people. The 2 references and equal distance. You haven't done anything yet, okay? I promise you. You don't have to face the wall, okay? Now, Pete is not going to move, but when I say go, we're going to again find the reference people and make a shine. Same people too, so you choose Pete. Right, so I mean, though Pete is still in the game, she's not going to be stagnant, okay? Please go. Everybody has settled down. I'm going to make just one more move and then we're going to wrap it up. Pete, you can move around now. So now we're going to move one last time. Okay, Pete is allowed to move, but Radhika is not allowed to move, but if you chose Radhika, you will still keep her as your reference. Okay? You can come back. Alright, so go. what happened after a while then? You got stabilized, okay? And there was a disturbance. The disturbance was heat, that we moved heat out. Maybe it could be considered, I'm not saying it could be, but like what happens in a disaster? A shock happens to the system. And then after the disaster happens, it takes time for the system to stabilize again, and it took a different form. Right? Yeah? What else comes to mind? Oh, it's because I like you. That's why I selected you to move you out.
Oh no, when I was thinking maybe you were observing things and then you saw, okay, apparently taken this point and now you disturb it.
Well, it was interesting also to see maybe, hello James, welcome.
Hello.
It's James Dalton from ICN Rocket Program. We're just wrapping up something here.
Okay, sure.
We'll do that while we're wrapping up. And it's interesting to see also maybe sometimes if you disturb one thing, the system might take longer to get back into equilibrium versus another component might take longer time. Which, when we took out peak versus radica, which one took longer for the system to stabilize again? Did you get some feeling about that? If you take out 2 or 3 people, then you might have even greater disturbance. It takes much longer time for the system to come back. Is there anything else that this game brought to mind? Sorry? Conditions were different? Yeah, there were many mistakes in the time. Hillary, please.
Size of triangle, some chose big triangle, small triangle.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So there are also different ways that individuals perceive how they should interact, skills considered an organization. An organization has some shock, it takes a long time for it to come back to its state, or maybe it doesn't come back to original state, it changes. Did you have something?
Yeah, I think that we have to monitor someone who moved out of the position. So also we have to effort the monitoring and some communications out of this.
Yeah. So I didn't let you talk, right? So there was no communications, just to observe how you move around. But in a situation where there's a shock or some disaster, small shocks like climate change, there will always be communication. So there might be some way for the system to stabilize quicker to communicate. Don't go so far away. Why are you moving so quickly? Like we had this one time when we had a large area and one participant was being a little bit of a provocateur. And he was walking away really far away. And some of the other people got angry at him because he was really kind of running away. And they almost started talking even though they were not allowed to. Here you were constrained by the amount of space, right? So you could have some individuals or some systems that make a lot of decisions. So, okay, here's Gonzalo. Welcome. Gonzalo is ICN Senior Social Policy Advisor for the district, right?
Yes.
And will be also contributing to our next part of this workshop. So, is there anything I need to upload?
Yes, I just wanted to know at what time exactly you leave me and create my PowerPoint.
Okay, well, we can start with James, actually. We'll take about 10 minutes, and then maybe
Well,
one more question.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
will that work? And
I'll
then
be back
it
in a
would be
minute.
nice to
Yeah.
So, any more observations? Did you like that cake? Is that all right in terms of thinking about how, yeah, Hillary?
I was wondering how did each one choose their kind of tree?
Yeah. So, yeah. It's true that you only focused on 2 points. You weren't looking at what the whole system was doing, which is often what we do, right? We're often working in one department, either with Well, do you want to do a popularity test and see who's on there?
We did. My other two identified me, they identified them. So
Okay, well.
I don't know how the two of us still close. We were the triangle.
Well, how about doing the coffee break? You can go and figure out who
Another little thing that I just mentioned to Radhika and to Karen. Well, I learned this game from Radhika and Karen one workshop. And then I went to play this game in a coastal community where everybody knows each other very, very well. So I did exactly the same thing, ask everybody to stand in a circle, pick two other people, and then when I say go, move. I said go, nobody moved. Because everybody was standing right next to their best friends, because it's a very old community, and they picked their friends. So everybody was already in a triangle. So I said go, and no one moved. Nobody moved.
So do we select those people with whom we have some like somehow, or there's some kind of affiliation, and so maybe also in life when we're working, also maybe we tend to choose to work with those people with whom we have some commonality or something that we like, and maybe we don't choose to work with those people working in disasters because it's kind of really different. And so we. So maybe sometimes we need to, look for somebody who we don't normally have an affiliation with, maybe some new nice partnership. Okay. So that was it for the game. Now we have this group exercise before going to lunch, and I'm suggesting that now we have the next part that's about to start, which is the ecosystem management tools for ecosystem-based DR. We have James here. Radhika's going to start this, but we don't want to lose your thoughts from the exercise. So what we're going to do is what we call a gallery walk. We're going to, during the coffee break, put up all of your posters, come back with your coffee, and discuss your findings. Okay? So considering a little bit of time, we didn't want to skip the game. We're going to do that then after the coffee break. Come see what your findings were. Okay? Even if you didn't have time to do it, it's okay. We can discuss those here. Okay? Are there any questions or comments? Yes. It's up to you. Okay. Do you prefer to go back to places where you have your things for taking notes? Yeah. Okay, then please move the system again. And I'll wait until there's stabilization before we start. Okay, so go to where you feel more comfortable, or you have your paper, computers.
So before we went to lunch, we talked about some of these tools that Hillary's in a very deep discussion, so we're waiting. So before we left for lunch, we talked about some of these tools that we use in our daily lives and we don't, as conservation practitioners, ecosystem managers, but we don't necessarily think about how that they contribute to risk reduction, risk management. We don't think about what other stakeholders are perhaps missing from our project group or the people we interact with, and how we can actually start utilizing some of these tools to actively contribute to risk reduction measures for communities we work with. And we went through some really good reasons as to why we need to promote these tools in a risk reduction context. So what we've got is 2 presentations from James and Gonzalo, and we'll be, sorry, I'll just pull back. And we'll be looking at, firstly, integrated water resource management and some case study examples of how that has merged with disaster risk reduction or has been contributing to disaster risk reduction. Then we'll hear from Gonzalo Oviedo, who'll talk about community-based natural resource management. We were able to do only 2 because of the short time we have, but I'm sure there'll be 2 great presentations. So if I can just introduce Dr. James Dalton.
Hi.
He's the he's a program coordinator for IUCN's Global Water Initiatives based at IUCN headquarters in Blanc. James is an engineer by background, and he's worked in the Pacific as well as Latin America in watershed management issues.
Okay, thank you.
And he's my neighbor upstairs, who did not put my garbage out.
Good afternoon, everyone. Radhika is correct, I am an engineer, which for IUCN is a bit groundbreaking maybe, although IUCN is a mixture of many people, as you know. And I'm actually, I'm an irrigation civil engineer, so a lot of my life in the past was in designing and building large-scale infrastructure. Some of it was designed to reduce risks, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. What I'm going to talk about really is integrating water resource management and the process that it allows people to go through, and what exactly it is as a water management philosophy and how that can help reduce risk. Water and disasters are closely aligned. Between 2000 and 2006, 90% of the, between 1900 and 2006, 90% of the most fatal disasters were all water related. Most of the time when you hear about anything to do with a disaster on the news, it'll be water related. Normally associated with flooding, cyclones, storms, coastal damage, landslides as a consequence of heavy rainfall, and in some cases drought, the obviously reverse of having too much water. So it's not surprising, therefore, that water resource management has a role to play in helping reduce risk. But it's probably not very much considered by those people who deal with disaster risk per se, because a lot of the disaster risk activities are focused on relief and assistance after the disaster has occurred. Water resource management is sort of underpinned by solid investment and sustainable financing for infrastructure. Most of the water around the world is moved, cleaned, stored, and shipped around by large-scale infrastructure, be it pipes or channels or river training systems, reservoirs and dams. The 3 things that we really focus on for water resource management are good governance and participation, solid knowledge, learning and leadership development at different scales, so from community up to national level, and really how you implement this in practice, focusing on water security for people, infrastructure needs, ecosystem services and adaptation to climate change. Because at a session yesterday we were talking about climate change and water, and actually climate change is water change, because in 90% of the cases it's through water that the impacts of climate change will be felt. And I'm just linking this to the Hyogo Framework for Action, which is obviously the guiding framework for disaster risk reduction, is that there are many, many links between water resource management as a program, as a platform, and the Hyogo Framework. It's based on strong institutional basis and good governance, monitoring and development of early warning systems, knowledge and education, reducing risk and preparing for disasters. So as you can see, water and disasters are quite closely aligned. They talk to each other. But unfortunately, the reality is quite different to that. Water has been sort of hijacked quite a lot in the past by technocratic processes, and hasn't often communicated with people at lower scales. And one way to try and tackle that was through developing this sort of philosophy